Well, Lata, thank you very much. So some of the key headlines from those, as Lata was pointing out, the first one is all of the existing schemes like SDR, CDR, JLFs, 525s have been thrown out the window and they will be replaced by this new set of guidelines. The second one is that for aggregate exposures of over 2,000 crore rupees, the RBI has given lenders a timeline of 180 days from the starting date of default to implement a resolution plan, failing which within the next 15 days, they will have to send these cases into the NCLT under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. And third, it is mandatory for banks to disclose any default for the acrylic database within a week. So every Friday, all of these defaults will have to be reported with acrylic for this data to be available with the Reserve Bank of India. And now joining us to discuss this further, some eminent guests. First, Sunil Srivastava, the Deputy Managing Director of Corporate Accounts Group at State Bank of India, Mr. Ashvin Parekh, the Managing Partner at Ashvin Parekh Advisory Services. Abhizar Divanji also joins us from EY, as well as VG Kannan, the Chief Executive of Indian Banks Association. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today to discuss these very important changes to what is the NPA overall in the resolution of stressed assets.
Let me ask Ashvin Parekh as well. Mr. Parekh, do you think that, even if one, bank finds the loan a bad account, all banks will have to, classify it as an NPA, and that is immediate because on a monthly basis you are reporting. Do you think there can be an immediate swelling of NPAs, rise in NPAs?
Well, I mean, there will be, I'm sure, because what may now happen is with stricter reporting, and I'm glad that this stricter reporting regime is now being put in place. It will get reported, but however, we have to somewhere connect this with the recapitalization of public sector banking. I suppose somewhere along I'm reading a message which says that if the banks are now adequately capitalized, let them first clean up their books first, let them report all the NPAs, let them not do evergreening. And so there are evergreening related norms as well.
Yes.
And there are strict reporting norms. So I suppose I'm connecting the two together actually.
Okay. Ashvin Parekh, you've been listening to all the bankers. Your sense of the same answer to the same question, because Mr. Sanjeev Bhasin will have to take a call on the stock price tomorrow. So your word on whether you will worry about capital shortfall, accelerated slippages.
Well, actually, I'm worried about three things now. One is I'm certainly worried about the cost of compliance, Lata. The cost of compliance, because the evidence gathering will have to be really at the grassroots level, and it has to really, be made available for supervisors to examine. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, out of 215,000 crores of the additional capital that the public sector banking is likely to get or will be getting in the next 2 years, this year and the next one, I'm certainly seeing that a good portion of that will really be used up in cleaning up the balance sheets of the banking system. So, the amount of money that will be left for growth, to my mind, is really a question mark. And the third directional question that I'm seeing really somewhere coming out from the regulator's office is that the capitalization, if that is not going to be adequate for public sector banking, then should the government be holding on to 51%? Should it really do something about capitalization? This no cash kind of a recap bond arrangement, can work only for a while, but if the size of the problem is too large, then suppose there will be some directional issues that may come up, let's say for the government, for the policymakers. The regulator has very clearly said that let's use up the money first to clean up the system first, and tighten monitoring by certainly, that is something that the banking system has been for all these years.
Mr. Parekh, I
so
must have
required, they were required to strengthen it.
Mr. Parekh, I have asked the finance minister, and Shireen has asked the finance minister several times whether they will consider privatizing at least some banks, at least one bank, and the answer has been, the political environment is not agreeable to it. So I don't think that is on the agenda as of now. You never know how things will be.
Is still awaited. Mr. Ashvin Parekh, just one more question to you. Anything you notice in the fine print that may throw a spanner in the works, anything besides what we've already been discussing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing two things. One is, I mean, I was looking at the overgreening norms, and the second thing I was looking was a larger onus now that will be coming up on the statutory auditors for disclosure. I mean, and then in addition to that, I'm seeing that a lot of things will actually get pushed up to the boards of the banking companies, because they will have to really accept so many of these major decisions, you know, I mean, and then of course, they'll have to address the non-compliance issues as well. So I suppose I'm seeing that the next 1 or 2 quarters the bankers are going to get real busy, I must say.
Okay, busy and perhaps a little strained in terms of money as well. Thank you, Mr. Parekh, for that. Thank you very much for joining us in our marathon coverage of new rules for NPA recognition.